activities.
Oh yeah.
What do you say to us about how we determine what activities or sports? And Michelle, maybe with ballet, you could speak to this too. Like, how do you decide what is right for the family?
They don't really need to do any of it.
Yeah. That's a good answer, actually.
Yeah. So our oldest we did baseball once. We just
basketball.
Well, no, but the baseball, we did it one season, and we like saw it through to the end of the season because you know we signed him up and we had made that commitment, and we only had like 3 kids at the time, but like the time commitment just for that one kid, for like all the practices and all that, you know, and especially because you know like a lot of the sports, they are, you know, sports programs that are, you know, like it's club sports, or it's the, you know, for us it's the Spring Branch Memorial Area Sports Association or whatever. And like, you know, most of the other kids that are in there are, you know, they are one and only children, and so like the parental involvement expectation is not achievable for me. Like it's just not, you know, and so after that, you know, they can do school sports if they meet right after school, like for the boys, you know, like if it's at Western and I don't have to like drive them any place, okay, you know, and with Annie, the only reason she's able to do all that ballet is because my mom lives across the street. And like, you know, and so Annie has like kind of like a couple of times she's like floated like, well, you know, they're at the Houston Ballet, they have this like, you know, summer camp or it's not summer camp, but I forget the term. It's like a workshop or whatever. And it's like, how on earth are we gonna get you there? Like, you know, just logistically, it's not possible to have these like, to have sports that have like a huge time commitment.
Well, it is possible, but you take away from your family.
Yeah.
So what we did is just if it runs into dinner, it's over. Like, there's not going to be one that goes into dinner. We even had trouble with, we did American Heritage Girls, and that was only once a week, or maybe it was twice a month. I can't remember at the time, but I just noticed it starting to like stress the family because we had to rush on that night and we couldn't get dinner, and we always ended up not having dinner that night, and I just had to like weigh, like, is this, you know, and we just dropped it because it was like, this isn't doing what we need for our family. Like, we always have dinner. That's one big one.
But we always try to find activities that you could have more kids involved in.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody who she was one of 10, and her dad had said, somebody said to her, how do you like deal with 10 kids? And he said, keep them tired. And so he put them all in one sport, and my dad put us all in swimming because we were all at the same time at the same place, no matter all the ages. They're all in the pool. It's like lane 1 through 3 is the teenagers, lane 4 through, you know, it's like all the kids at the same time at the same place. They all go for 2 hours. They all come home at the same time for dinner. So that's why, and he had previously done soccer when we were younger, but he was like, it was driving everywhere and it was going all over and it wasn't good. So then when he found swimming, he put us all in swimming. So if you can find one thing that doesn't affect your family cohesiveness, that's what I would do. But it's hard because you want to also give kids opportunity if they have that drive for something. You want to give it, you know, you don't want to be like, well, you're ruining our family time. Even though you love baseball, you don't get to play it. But
well, that's what he was very bad at.
Yes. So I was going to say, so Catherine was in ballet for a little bit, and she also plays violin. And it became very clear that she's not going to be able to do both time and money-wise. And I was like, how much do you love ballet? And she's like, and I was like, yeah, we're dropping that. You know, like, she kind of liked it, but that's not enough, you know. So even just the violin is a lot, but we always try to so we spent more money on a teacher that would come to our house. Because it was just so much worth it for me to just be cooking dinner and they're having their violin lesson. I don't have to drive across town. It was just that's what I would do, is just make sure you have family cohesiveness if you're going to pick a thing. And then also, I think it should be a thing that helps them, like physically or mentally or spiritually, not just doing it to do it. I don't know how to describe that, but
It has to have value.
yeah, it has to have value.
I had a rule when kids were young that I only did 2 sports per season.
Okay.
I did 3 sports one season, and that just, cause Michael was out of town, and that did me in. So somebody had to not participate in the sport. So, because there was always soccer, basketball, baseball, field hockey, and lacrosse.
And golf.
Golf, yeah. So, and I tried to, if somebody showed an interest in something, you know, I felt like it was my job to help them participate, you know, within reason. But, you know, I didn't push it too much. But you had to be
Well,
an interest.
and most kids don't have that kind of like, I mean, Annie's kind of crazy
She's driven.
drive to excel at ballet. It is sometimes very difficult for me to relate to that, and like definitely I do not see that in my other kids, or like they have not yet encountered a sport or activity that they feel that much passion for. Like if
She
yeah,
does have a passion for it.
it's like it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it does depend on your kid, 'cause my first was like that, where he just asked me every day for like 2 years to play the violin. Yeah. And so I just finally had to just give him lessons, because he was just bothering me so much. And
you know,
that's really how
like
it
I said
because I knew
before-
like if you're gonna bother me this much, then you're probably gonna practice.
Mhm.
So
Well, but if you were like asking him, like if you were like having to like every day spend like your time at like begging him to practice, like
right.
you wouldn't like keep investing it. Like with Annie, like if I had to like be like, no, you must go to practice. Like I was having to push her, like.
No,
But I think that's
what-
where
over.
big families self-regulate, because mom just doesn't have time to deal with that stuff, and you're just gonna drop
Yeah.
whatever is not useful to your family naturally. You don't see it working
the
out.
greater good.
Yeah.
What's good for the family is good for me.
And I think most of the time when we've dropped something, the kid has not been like, no. They're like, okay, that's fine.
Or
you
then
know?
like one time they'll mention like, didn't I used to play?
Remember that?
Did I used to play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did do that one time.
Yeah, and that's why I think school like, at Western is good, because they get to try out different sports,
Yeah.
but they don't have to like be super involved, and
You don't have to be perfect.
yeah, it's just
Have fun.
just a little bit of each thing. I think sports are good. I don't think they're bad, but I just think that we've turned them into a religion in this country.
Yeah.
They're definitely a religion. If you watch a football game, it's like basically the mass. They like come out and smoke. They sing songs at certain times. They stand up at certain times and sway at certain times.
They might
Sit down.
kneel and protest.
Yeah. It's like very, they eat certain things, you know. I don't know, it feels very ritualistic, and yeah, I think that we've replaced religion with sports.
So
Okay, I wanna fit one more question, and we are definitely over time, and then I'm gonna come back to each of y'all for your final thought before I open it up to at least one question from the crowd. And that's our question at the bottom of the page. We have so many different experiences as wives and mothers that maybe we're not prone to talk about, either because of modesty or because it doesn't feel like the right thing that we're supposed to say. Like, how do we walk the line between being modest and being a good friend, but also we have these like challenges in our lives that are very intimate and or may be very intimate, and maintain decorum. And how do we navigate that? Have you encountered a situation like that? How have you?
Is modesty in this question being used to express one's sexual life?
It might be. It's not specific. It might be like asking about the birds and the bees and how do you, or it might just be like, our family's struggling with this thing, and in this world of being perfect. I don't know the specific situation, but.
Is that my question from last time?
Yes.
I don't know, explain your question.
I will tell you, guys.
Because I had this question, I was like, what?
This is
I'm
way
like a
TMI.
teacher.
Close your ears if you don't want to know. We had pinworms.
Oh, okay.
Oh my it was awful. And then as I'm talking to people horrifically about this, I found out that it went through pretty much everyone in my kids, that class at Holy House. All of them had pinworms.
Okay.
It's so
I heard about those.
And nobody talked about it. Nobody warned me. My daughter, fortunately, I think it was just the one kid, had pinworms for probably 8 or 9 months because they get out of bed and they tell you their bottom is itchy. And you're just like, you just want an excuse to get out of bed. Go to bed. Nobody told me there was a disease, a parasite that makes your child bottom itchy at bedtime. That's like not a thing. Nobody knew that. Anyway, so some of this comes from frustration that like nobody was talking about this.
Well, people are
But then also,
sensitive
like-
about lice. You know what I mean? Like, even though that's not as sensitive as pinworms.
It's just so much.
Different area of the
It's
body.
like a much more sensitive topic. It's horrible. It's horrible. And
I think it's just,
oh, it was awful.
you just don't want to talk about it because then you think people aren't going to want to be around your kids or something.
But it doesn't
Like, the
matter like
medicine's
what it
pretty
is.
effective.
Like there are people there are like I remember a very smart friend telling me one time she was like you know like just if you want to really connect with people, if you want to like say things that are going to like resonate with them and not just you know like I mean our social media has actually trained us to kind of like only speak in like you know weather language. What is that? Small talk. You know, where you're like, oh yeah, it's hot outside.
Don't go deep, yeah.
You know, yeah, don't go deep. But like, and she was like, man, she was like, you know what? Just say what's on your mind. You know, if you're thinking about pinworms, share that with a friend.
I remember hearing a quote about intimacy in all relationships is you can't be intimate unless you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
So with friendships or with your spouse or anything, if you're not vulnerable, and I mean think about it, sex is like the most vulnerable you can be, right? So that's why we call it intimate, right? But there's also intimacy in just talking to people, because if you tell someone a weakness, and I think for some women lice or pinworms or cockroaches in your house, and like maybe they associated that with like something they did wrong, like their kids are somehow, I think a lot of people, like the kids at Magnolia, they don't want people to know they have lice because maybe the people think they didn't take enough showers or something. Whereas these things just spread and there's really nothing you can do. But we still kind of feel like it's something you did wrong. And so telling someone about that makes you vulnerable. But making yourself vulnerable deepens your friendship. So maybe allow yourself to be vulnerable so that you can deepen your friendship. You
And
know?
if you have a person who can't handle it, maybe they aren't a good friend.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the thing is that they're probably going through something like equally. Just
They were
as
all
terrible.
relieved when I brought it up.
Yeah.
But nobody ever brought it up to me. I brought it up to all of these people because I started to notice a pattern.
Well, but sometimes so my friend came to our house and she like kind of really she embarrassedly admitted that her kids had pinworms, and I was like, what is that? I always feel like I'm learning new things in Houston because being from New Mexico, there's like nothing alive because it's so dry. I mean, seriously, there's like all these, fleas.
One of my daughters had pinworms in New Mexico.
In Mexico,
I
okay.
won't mention who it is.
So we didn't have pinworms growing up, but right after my friend mentioned that her kids had pinworms, lo and behold, our kids got pinworms. Pretty sure from that lady with her kids, but that's fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. I was happy that she had told me because then I was able to recognize it, right?
Yeah.
Right
Like
away.
you didn't wait 9 months.
Yes, no, I noticed. I was like, wait, didn't someone tell me about this thing like 3 days ago? I was like, oh, yeah. So, but I do remember her being a little bit embarrassed about it. But I'm glad she told me, about it, so that I was able to. But sometimes it's not really on people's mind. I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to talk about it because it's kind of like talking about, I don't know. your
It's not
problems
pleasant.
or something. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant conversation.
Well, I've never heard of pinworms, and my kid has been itching himself a lot the past week. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be Googling this a lot.
It's a really easy
Oh.
fix. I think they just drink this like banana flavored liquid for a few days and then it's gone.
Wow.
Yeah, our pediatrician said we all take
Oh,
one
you do have to
dose.
wash all the sheets though,
Yeah, you wash all the sheets, wash all the clothes.
because that's where the
It's-
eggs are.
I'll talk to you about it.
I don't think it's as bad. My kids have never had lice, but I hear that lice is harder to get rid of. I think than pinworms.
Yeah, pinworms is easy to get rid of. We'll talk.
And the friendship grows.
And
Well-
it's probably good for their immune system.
For the bluntest people in this room, I think we're good to talk about pinworms out loud. I think Melissa and I are probably the most loud, blunt people in this room. So